I didn't get this far by playing it safe. Every single number here is a weapon, and I intend to use them. Let the real game begin now.
$700 million. That was the exact amount missing from the Kang Syndicate's liquid assets. Not frozen, not stolen, not lost in a market collapse. Missing. A sum large enough to destabilize every alliance, every smuggling route, every politician on payroll, and every criminal enterprise connected to Seoul's underworld. In less than 48 hours, rumors alone could spark a chain reaction capable of destroying an empire that had taken decades to build. When Kang Min-hyuk opened the encrypted financial dashboard from his penthouse office, he expected to find a technical malfunction. Instead, he found a void. The money was gone. Reallocated through a labyrinth of transactions so sophisticated that even his elite cybercrime division could not trace them in real time. Most men would have panicked. Kang was not most men. He traced the transactions personally. Every movement, every transfer, every shell company, every hidden account. The trail did not lead to a rival syndicate. It did not lead to a corrupt banker. It did not lead to an intelligence agency. It led downstairs, deep into the basement administrative division of his own headquarters. It led to a desk occupied by Seo-yeon. For 3 years, she had existed beneath notice. She processed invoices, managed expense reports, reconciled shipping manifests. Nobody feared her. Nobody respected her. Nobody watched her. Which, Kang realized, was exactly what made her dangerous. He put on his charcoal gray leather gloves, retrieved his custom firearm from the hidden compartment beneath his desk, and walked downstairs alone. He did not call security. He did not alert his executives. He wanted answers. And if the answers disappointed him, he wanted the satisfaction of pulling the trigger himself. When he pushed open the office door, the room was silent except for the rhythmic tapping of keys. Seo-yeon sat facing her monitor, focused, calm, unaware. Or so it appeared. Kang stepped behind her, raised the weapon, and aimed directly at the back of her head. The barrel hovered inches away. 60 seconds passed, an entire minute. Most people would have broken under that pressure. Most people would have cried, begged, frozen. Seo-yeon simply continued typing. Then she pressed enter. A sequence of encrypted windows disappeared from her screen. She slowly turned her chair. Her expression never changed. Her eyes settled on Kang's face, not his weapon, not his hands, him. Then she slid a heavy red ledger across the desk. One word was stamped across the cover in black ink. PAID, pull the trigger, she said calmly. Every shell account you own disappears before your bodyguards reach this room. Your empire files for bankruptcy before sunrise. For the first time in years, Kang hesitated. Not because he doubted her, because he believed her completely. Seo-yeon opened the ledger. Page after page of financial records appeared. Routing numbers, offshore structures, hidden assets. Internal theft reports. The deeper Kang looked, the worse it became. His own organization had been bleeding him for years, not through major robberies, through thousands of tiny cuts, phantom vendors, fake maintenance contracts, inflated transportation costs. The thefts were so small individually that nobody noticed them. Together, they totaled hundreds of millions. 3 of your lieutenants built the system, Seo-yeon explained. I discovered it 18 months ago. Kang narrowed his eyes. Then why didn't you report it? Because reporting it would have solved the wrong problem. She tapped another key. 3 faces appeared on the monitor. 3 of Kang's most trusted executives. Men who had fought beside him for years, men he would have trusted with his life. I wanted to know how deep the corruption went. Kang felt something unfamiliar. Embarrassment. Not because he had been robbed, because she had uncovered the truth before he did. You moved the money, I intercepted the money, without permission. Permission would have slowed me down. She wasn't apologizing. She wasn't negotiating. She was presenting facts. That irritated him more than fear ever could. Then she revealed the second screen. This time, Kang's expression changed completely. The stolen funds were not sitting idle. They had been invested, leveraged, repositioned, hidden within dozens of offshore entities. The total value had increased dramatically. She had turned the theft into a weapon. You made money from my stolen money? I made money from their stolen money. Kang stared at her. The distinction mattered more than he wanted to admit. Then Seo-yeon delivered the statement that changed everything. The Beck syndicate knows you're weak. Kang looked up sharply. Explain. They called an emergency summit. She pulled up a shipping manifest. Tomorrow morning, more files appeared. Intelligence reports, satellite images, financial forecasts. They believe your cash reserves collapsed. They're preparing to absorb your shipping routes. Kang's jaw tightened. The Beck syndicate had spent years trying to challenge him. Now they smelled blood. What do you suggest? A small smile appeared on Seo-yeon's face, the first sign of emotion he had seen. She reached into a drawer and removed a red flash drive. I suggest we bankrupt them first. The following morning, the shipping docks were packed with armed guards. Executives, smugglers, mercenaries. The Beck syndicate had arrived expecting victory. Kang arrived with Seo-yeon, nothing else. No army, no visible show of force, just confidence. The rival boss greeted Kang with a smirk. A contract sat waiting on the table. Sign, the rival leader said, and your organization survives. Seo-yeon stepped forward before Kang could respond. She placed the red flash drive on the table. Your math is wrong. The rival boss laughed. Then his phone vibrated. Another alert followed. Then another. Then another. The smile disappeared. Seo-yeon remained calm. While you were planning this meeting, I executed a margin call on your primary holding company. Silence. Your shipping insurer just withdrew coverage. More silence. Your debt was sold 3 hours ago. The rival boss checked his screen again. His hands started shaking. Your foreign investors are liquidating positions as we speak. The room transformed. Fear spread through the Beck delegation. They weren't facing guns. They were facing extinction. 15 minutes later, the rival boss signed away every major shipping route under his control. The war ended without a single shot fired. As they returned to headquarters, Kang found himself studying Seo-yeon differently. She wasn't an employee anymore. She wasn't even an advisor. She was something far more dangerous. She was becoming indispensable. That realization bothered him, because dependence had always been his greatest weakness. Back at headquarters, the celebration never happened. Seo-yeon was already working. Screens illuminated the war room, transaction histories, surveillance reports, intelligence files, patterns emerged, hidden connections surfaced. Then she found something that made her stop typing. Kang immediately noticed. What is it? What? She enlarged a file. There's a 4th lieutenant. Kang frowned. What 4th lieutenant? The one who isn't stealing. That answer confused him more than any accusation. 3 traitors made sense. A loyal executive should have been good news. Yet Seo-yeon's expression remained troubled. She displayed the financial records. Every lieutenant who participated in the theft left evidence. Hidden transfers, offshore structures, secret meetings. But one executive remained completely clean, too clean. No unexplained transactions, no suspicious behavior, no irregular communications, nothing. Why is that a problem? Kang asked. Seo-yeon leaned back. Because nobody is that clean. The 4th lieutenant's name was Daniel Cho. Unlike the others, he never sought attention, never competed for power, never challenged authority. Yet somehow he survived every internal purge, every external conflict, every leadership transition. He had spent 12 years inside the organization without making a single mistake. Seo-yun stared at his file. Her instincts told her something was wrong, but the evidence refused to cooperate. Kang disagreed. 2. Daniel saved my life twice. That doesn't clear him. He fought beside me when I had nothing. That doesn't clear him either. Kang folded his arms. You think everyone is hiding something. Everyone is hiding something. Hours passed. The debate continued. Neither side moved. Finally, Seo-yun opened a classified communications archive. Most files contained ordinary reports. Then she found one message, sent 6 months earlier. A single sentence. No sender. No recipient. No identifying data. Just a message buried inside encrypted traffic. The sentence made the room go silent. The board is almost set. The architect is nearly in position. Kang read it twice. What does it mean? Seo-yun didn't answer immediately, because, for the first time since this began, she wasn't sure. She looked at Daniel Cho's profile again, then at the message, then at the map of global transactions displayed across the wall. A feeling settled into her stomach. Not fear, something worse. Recognition. Somewhere beyond Seoul, beyond the syndicates, beyond the wars and financial games, another player was moving pieces across the board. Someone patient, someone invisible. End quote. Someone who seemed to know exactly where she was standing. And for the first time in years, Seo-yun felt the uncomfortable sensation that she might not be the smartest person in the room anymore. The first anomaly did not arrive as a conversation. It arrived as a collapse. Inside the Kang Syndicate's financial system, numbers began disappearing in real time while Seo-yun was still inside the room. Kang watched the main war screen flicker. One offshore account went dark, then another. Then an entire liquidity channel froze mid-transfer, not explained, not reported, just erased. Seo-yun didn't speak. She reached forward, her fingers tightening slightly on the keyboard. Someone is inside our shadow ledger, she said quietly. Kang's voice dropped. You're telling me we're being hacked? No, she replied. I'm telling you, we're being audited. Before anyone could respond, the room's secondary monitors auto-triggered. A transaction pulse detonated across their system. $800 million appeared. No source, no origin, no traceable sender. It just entered their network like it had always belonged there. Daniel stepped closer. That's not a transfer, that's insertion. Seo-yun narrowed her eyes. Or conditioning. Kang turned sharply. Conditioning for what? The answer did not come in words. It came in impact. Every shipping contract in Southeast Asia briefly restructured itself. Rates changed. Ownership percentages shifted. Entire routes reallocated. End quote. Then reverted, as if someone was testing reality itself. Seo-yun froze for half a second longer than usual. That was the only warning she gave. This isn't a syndicate, she said finally. Kang frowned. Then what is it? She didn't answer. Because the system answered for her. A single encrypted signal bypassed every firewall they had. No intrusion alert, no breach log. Just a message appearing directly on her private terminal. But we are not testing your systems. We are testing you. Bye. The room went silent. Daniel exhaled slowly. That's not a hacker. Kang's expression hardened. Then what is it? Daniel looked at Seo-yun instead of him. A recruiter. The word changed the temperature of the room. Seo-yun immediately locked the system. Too late, because something had already responded. All external monitors went black. Then restarted, not with their interface, with a different one. A world map appeared, but it was wrong, not geographically, structurally. Entire economies were highlighted as single connected organisms, not countries, not corporations, but systems. End quote. Then the message changed. Subject confirmed. Seo Yan status. Active readiness. Unknown Kang stepped forward. Who authorized this? No one answered, because the system did not belong to them anymore. A new file opened automatically. Inside it was a live feed, not recorded, live. A financial institution in Zurich, collapsing in real time. Then a shipping conglomerate in Singapore. Then a sovereign fund in the Middle East. Not random, not chaotic, coordinated. Seo-yeon whispered, "This isn't destruction." Daniel nodded slowly. "It's alignment." Kang turned sharply. "Alignment? With what?" The answer arrived through interruption. The entire building's power flickered for exactly 1 second. And in that second, every encrypted screen inside the room displayed a single face. Marcus Vale. No introduction, no explanation, just presence. Then everything returned to normal. Silence followed. But it was no longer the same silence. Seo-yeon stared at the screen, not confused, not shocked, recognizing. Kang noticed immediately. "You know him." She didn't answer. Which was the answer? Daniel stepped back slightly. That wasn't an appearance. That was access. Then the final message appeared. "You have been operating under observation for 2,918 days. Welcome back, Seo-yeon." Kang turned slowly toward her. "Back?" Seo-yeon's voice was barely audible. "I don't remember being gone." That was the first lie she had told since this began. And everyone in the room knew it. The meeting with Evelyn Hart did not begin with explanation. It began with failure. The moment Seo-yeon entered the Hong Kong conference room, every external financial system she had ever controlled went temporarily offline, not hacked, suspended, as if the world had paused her access rights. Evelyn Hart stood near the glass wall, watching the harbor lights. "You built impressive systems," she said calmly. Then she turned. "But systems are only real when we allow them to be." Seo-yeon didn't sit. Kang didn't either. Daniel stayed near the exit. Evelyn noticed all of it. "You're still operating like independent actors," she said softly. "That will change soon." Kang stepped forward. "You don't summon people like us without consequences." Evelyn smiled slightly. "I didn't summon you." She tapped a small device on the table. The entire Hong Kong financial exchange briefly froze, then resumed. "No," she continued. "I demonstrated that I can." Seo-yeon's eyes narrowed. "You didn't invite us. You extracted us." Evelyn nodded. "Correct." Then the room changed again. Not physically, structurally. Every screen inside the building activated. But this time, there were no charts. Only one live feed. The Kang Syndicate headquarters. Empty. Not attacked, not destroyed, just paused. Time-stamped systems frozen mid-operation. Kang's expression tightened. "You're inside my network." Evelyn shook her head. "I'm not inside it." A pause. "I own the protocol that defines what inside means." The words should have sounded arrogant, but the evidence was visible. Then she looked directly at Seo-yeon. "You were never meant to build alone." Seo-yeon stepped forward. "Then what was I meant to do?" Evelyn answered without hesitation. "Find him." A second file opened. Marcus Vale. This time, not a photograph, a timeline. His influence mapped across global collapses, mergers, wars, elections, not as participant, as catalyst. Kang's voice lowered. "Where is he now?" Evelyn paused, then answered carefully. "He doesn't stay in places. A beat. He stays in outcomes." And then the room systems flickered again. But this time, Evelyn reacted. For the first time. Fast. Too fast. Because something else had responded to Marcus Vale's name being spoken. All screens in the room inverted, and a final message appeared. Evelyn Hart, authority revoked. Access Transferred. New priority. Seo-yeon. Kang froze. What just happened? Evelyn didn't answer immediately, because for the first time in her life, she looked uncertain. Then she whispered. He wasn't supposed to respond yet. And somewhere, far beyond the glass city of Hong Kong, the system controlling all of them quietly acknowledged something none of them wanted to accept. Marcus Vale was not observing anymore. He was returning. The city did not mourn the death of the old godfather. It adapted by dawn. Every whispered conversation inside Seoul's underworld had changed its subject. No one asked who had killed the nation's most untouchable criminal. They already knew. The only question that remained was how long Kang Min-hyuk and Seo-yeon would survive after doing it. Across the Han River, expensive boardrooms fell unusually silent. Gambling dens closed their doors before midnight. Smuggling routes paused without explanation. Money that had flowed in predictable rivers for decades suddenly stopped moving altogether. Fear had become the city's newest currency, and nobody was willing to spend it first. Kang stood inside the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse, watching emergency lights flicker across the skyline. Behind him, the obsidian war table remained untouched. No celebration, no champagne, no victory speeches. Seo-yeon quietly removed her gold-rimmed glasses, cleaned a tiny drop of dried blood from the frame, and placed them back on her face as though she had merely finished another day's work. She looked toward the city without speaking. "They're not planning revenge," she finally said. Kang did not turn around. "How do you know?" "Because revenge is emotional. Right now they're being mathematical." He looked back at her for the first time since leaving the apartment building. "Explain." She walked toward the monitors and pressed a single key. Hundreds of financial transactions appeared across the display, not in red, but in gray, frozen, suspended, waiting. Every syndicate account connected to the alliance stopped moving exactly 19 minutes after the godfather died. Kang narrowed his eyes. "That means they're hiding." Seo-yeon slowly shook her head. "No, that means someone gave one order to everyone simultaneously." Silence settled over the room. Kang understood exactly what that meant. The old man had not ruled alone. Somewhere above the visible hierarchy sat a structure no one had ever discussed aloud. For decades, every boss believed himself independent, yet every financial artery in the criminal economy had obeyed the same invisible heartbeat. The godfather had never been the ceiling. He had been the front door. Kang felt something unfamiliar, not fear, irritation. For the first time in years, he realized he had mistaken the map for the territory. Seo-yeon enlarged one transaction until it occupied the entire screen. It contained no names, no account numbers, no signatures, just 3 symbols arranged vertically: a black circle, a white square, a crimson triangle. Kang stared at them. "I've never seen that mark." "Neither has anyone else," she replied, "because it disappears 6 minutes after every transaction clears." "Then how did you capture it?" "How?" She reached into her tailored coat and placed a small scratched solid-state drive on the table. "I started looking for ghosts 6 months ago." Kang almost smiled. "You expected this?" "I expected someone." Before he could ask another question, every monitor in the penthouse simultaneously went black. Neither of them moved. 5 seconds later, the displays illuminated again, but they were no longer connected to Kang's network. Every screen showed the same sentence in immaculate white lettering: "Congratulations on your promotion." The room remained perfectly quiet. Then another line appeared beneath it: "You inherited an empire that never belonged to you." Kang immediately reached for the master power switch beneath the table. Nothing happened. Seo-yeon watched the cursor continue typing by itself. "We have watched your calculations. We have watched your violence. We have watched your partnership. We approve of neither." Kang disconnected the central server with his own hands. The screens stayed alive. Impossible. They were no longer communicating through his infrastructure. Whoever had reached them was somewhere inside the building. Seo-yeon looked not at the monitors, but at the reflection in the glass wall behind them. We're not alone. Kang followed her gaze. Reflected in the darkness beyond the windows stood a man wearing a charcoal suit, hands folded calmly behind his back. The penthouse doors had never opened. No alarm had sounded. Yet someone else now occupied the room. The reflection did not move, neither did Kang. Years of surviving an empire built on betrayal had taught him that the first person to react usually became the first person to die. Seo-yeon's eyes remained fixed on the glass instead of the man himself. He wants us to acknowledge him, she whispered. So don't. Kang slowly lowered his hand from the concealed pistol beneath the table. The stranger smiled, almost imperceptibly. Good, good, the man finally said. Most people would have drawn their weapon by now. His voice was calm, educated, almost disappointingly ordinary. It was the voice of a university professor, not someone who had somehow bypassed the most sophisticated security system in Seoul. Kang turned around at last. The man appeared to be in his late 50s. Immaculately tailored charcoal suit, black leather gloves, silver hair without a single strand, out of place. No jewelry, no watch. Nothing that reflected status, except the complete absence of any need to display it. Kang studied him with predatory patience. You have 10 seconds. The man nodded politely. No, you have 9. Kang's expression did not change, but Seo-yeon noticed something else. The digital clock above the wine cabinet had stopped moving. Every electronic device in the room displayed exactly the same frozen second. What did you do? She asked. The stranger looked at her instead of Kang. Nothing. Nothing. I simply borrowed your attention, as though responding to his words. Every monitor suddenly displayed live security footage from throughout the building. Dozens of Kang's armed guards stood completely still in hallways, elevators, and stairwells. None of them appeared injured. None of them appeared threatened. They simply stared into empty space, as if waiting for instructions that never came. Kang's voice hardened. Explain. Your men received emergency evacuation orders exactly 63 seconds ago. From whom? From you. Kang's eyes narrowed. I issued no such order. Correct. The stranger gently folded his hands. Someone else did. Using your biometric authorization. Seo-yeon immediately crossed to the central console. She typed furiously across 3 encrypted systems simultaneously. Every authentication log confirmed the same impossible truth. Kang's fingerprints, Kang's retinal signature, Kang's encrypted private key. Every layer of security had recognized the command as genuine. She stopped typing. Someone duplicated your identity. Not duplicated, the stranger corrected. Improved. Kang took one deliberate step forward. Who are you? The man smiled. The wrong question. He reached into his jacket very slowly and produced not a weapon, but an ivory business card. He placed it on the obsidian table with almost ceremonial precision before stepping backward. The card contained no name, no telephone number, no company. Only the same 3 symbols Seo-yeon had recovered from the hidden transactions. Black circle, white square, A, crimson triangle. You have 48 hours, he said. To do what? Kang asked. To decide whether your empire survives as an independent organization or becomes another department. Kang laughed once. It was short, cold, and entirely humorless. Nobody acquires my empire. That's what every chairman said. Chairman? Kang repeated. Interesting choice of words. Because syndicates are inefficient. Governments are temporary. Corporations are predictable. But networks, he paused, almost admiring the skyline behind them. Networks are immortal. Seo-yun had remained silent, allowing him to reveal himself. Now she asked the only question that mattered. If your organization is as powerful as you claim, why offer us a choice? For the first time, the stranger's expression changed. It was almost respect. Because 6 months ago you interrupted one of our invisible revenue channels without realizing it. 3 weeks ago you unknowingly acquired 2 shell companies that belong to us. Yesterday you eliminated a regional executive we had planned to retire next month. Kang's attention sharpened. Regional executive, not Godfather, regional. The implication struck like cold steel. The old man who had terrified the entire Korean underworld had merely supervised one region of something incomparably larger. The stranger continued, "You have become, statistically interesting." He turned toward the elevator. Without another word, Kang moved to intercept him. Before he could cross half the room, every light inside the penthouse extinguished. Darkness swallowed the glass walls. It lasted less than a heartbeat. When the lights returned, the elevator doors remained closed. The stranger was gone. Seo-yun sprinted toward the hallway. Empty. No footsteps. No elevator movement. No emergency exit alarm. Nothing. Kang examined the ivory card again. It suddenly felt heavier than paper. He flipped it over. On the reverse side, handwritten in elegant black ink, was a single address and a time. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. Beneath it, another sentence had been written with deliberate precision. Bring no weapons. Bring only the accountant. Kang stared at the words for several seconds before quietly handing the card to Seo-yun. She read it once, then looked toward the skyline. Somewhere, beyond the towers, beyond the ports, beyond the criminal families that had shaped Seoul for generations, someone had already begun calculating them. For the first time since they became partners, they were no longer the most dangerous people in the room. They had become the newest variables in someone else's equation.
Thank you for staying with me all the way to the end. If you've made it this far, then you're not just watching another crime story, you're watching the birth of something much bigger. One thing I've learned from stories like this is that the most dangerous people are rarely the loudest people in the room. Sometimes the person changing the world isn't carrying the biggest weapon. They're carrying the biggest plan. Kang understood power. Seo-yun understood control. And those are two very different things. But here's what makes this story so fascinating. Everything you've seen so far is only the foundation. Every move that was made, every betrayal that was exposed, every alliance that was formed, all of it sets the stage for what comes next. Because power never stays uncontested. When an empire rises this fast, the entire underworld begins paying attention. New enemies emerge, old enemies adapt, hidden players step out of the shadows. And every decision becomes more dangerous than the last. That's exactly where this story is headed. I won't spoil what's coming in part 2, but I'll say this. If you thought the psychological battles, financial warfare, and strategic mind games were intense in this chapter, you've only scratched the surface. The next chapter changes the rules completely. So if you don't want to miss it, this is the perfect time to subscribe and turn on notifications. That way, the moment part 2 goes live, you'll be among the first to experience the next chapter of Kang and Seo-yun's rise. And while you're waiting, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Who impressed you the most in this episode? Was it Kang's ruthless leadership, or was Seo-yun's unmatched intelligence that completely stole the show? Leave your answer in the comments. I read them all, and your theories might even inspire future stories on this channel. Thank you once again for watching, for supporting the channel, and for being part of this growing community of cinematic storytelling. Until part 2, stay curious, stay sharp, and remember, the most powerful move is often the one nobody sees coming.